I didn't see you there. Welcome back to the Wander Off-Road YouTube channel. I'm Philip. Some of you may or may not know. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about how we pack, whether it's for a short overnighter or cross country for a week. So the first concept to think about is the same whether you're camping out of your truck, backpacking, however you're doing it. You want to make sure the stuff you're going to need the most is packed where it's easy to get to. If you're cooking every night, you really don't want all that buried underneath your clothes and everything else. You want to be able to get to your kitchen supplies easily. You want to be able to get to your first aid kits easily. The idea of the game is to make it as easy on yourself as possible. So, there's one thing that always sucks when you forget it, and that's utensils. You haven't known pain until you're sitting in the middle of the woods eating chili with your hands. So make sure you remember to pack your utensils, your spatulas, your spoons, your ladles, all that stuff. These are some of the most important things we take on wander trips, because without these two very, very important tools, it'd be really hard to make pancakes.
But seriously, you should always bring a pot of some kind. I usually bring a small pot and a large pot, depending on what I'll be cooking. And I like keeping a variety of pan sizes in my bin at all times. And I keep this bin, it's a weather-tight bin, and it's got all the clips on the outside, and they're not too expensive. You can get like a box of 6 of them for like $70 on Amazon. I really like these weather-tight bins. I also always take an actual spoon, and sometimes two. I have one that's a little shallower than the other, so I can use this for soup and this one for basic cooking. And you always want to bring a spatula of some kind as well.
One thing I always really make sure to think about is having a way to clean off all of my cookware afterwards. Not only might you be using it night to night, you really don't want to carry that stuff around smelling like what you ate for dinner last night all day in your truck. So, one thing I always make sure to bring is a sponge. Oh, I can't read. I always make sure to bring a sponge along, and that helps a lot with the process, because scrubbing food off a pan with your bare hands is awful. I personally find that mustard is an all-natural and delicious cleaning solution.
But seriously, get your hands on some legitimate dish soap, or better yet, get a hold of some biodegradable camp soap that's actually a lot better for the soil and safe to use in streams.
You also want to consider that you may be cooking after dark, or just existing after dark in general. It's a thing that happens when you camp. So I personally like to bring along flashlights, lanterns, and if you're really trying to set the mood, some citronella candles.
Another thing I always carry for all possible cooking scenarios is a strainer, which I have used in more than one scenario, not just for pasta, also for draining meat, for cutting up my vegetables and storing my vegetables in, or fruits or salad or whatever. It's great. It like doubles as a holding bowl. It's really nice. I always take a few knives with sleeves so that when I put them in my bin, I don't have to worry about them getting damaged or my fingers getting damaged when I grab them. I always take a cutting board depending on what I'll be cooking. We cook with a lot of like meat and vegetables, so I always have a cutting board on hand. And a can opener. This is one of the most underestimated pieces of equipment you can take for camping, I feel. There have been so many instances where I'm like, I need a can opener, and no one has one, and I don't understand why, and it always comes up in the most random scenarios you can ever imagine.
Some other important things are cups, mugs. They can hold your coffee, water, warm milk, anything you desire. Having a headlamp's nice, because you're not always able to hold a flashlight. You're not always able to have a lantern handy. This one in particular is from Nemo. And then, one of these little multi-tools is indispensable. It's got all kinds of handy little gadgets like screwdrivers. It's got wrenches, a bottle opener. It's even got a protractor in case you need to measure angle at your campsite. It can do it all. It's always important to have a couple extra backups. Wow, Product placement. These are all things you can buy on our website. Public service announcement. At wanderoffroad.com, that's www.wander-offroad.com, you can buy things like this Nebo headlamp, this multi-tool, and you can't buy this mug anymore, but I bet you could buy one that's like it. You always want to make sure you bring the appropriate fuel for your camp stove, whether you're using propane, butane, or even if you cook over a fire. You really don't want to be caught without a way to heat food up. Public service announcement. If these get too hot, they could be bombs. Remember, the most important rule is safety third. Be extra careful while you're using your propane. You really don't want anything to blow up in your face. An important thing to also remember is to bring along the appropriate sleeping bag, an extra blanket, and some pillows. Creature comforts are a great thing to have when you're out in the outdoors. Did you know a guy named Smitty built these? Recovery gear is really important to carry with you on any trail you go on. You really don't want to rely on somebody else having something that you might need. Somebody call an ambulance, but not for me. Carrying a med kit's always super important. You never know when you're going to need anything in here. You could have an injury that's as simple as needing a band-aid, all the way up to having to set broken bones or needing Advil. You may encounter yourself in a rainstorm while you're out riding around anywhere, so you want to make sure you've got something to keep the elements off you when you're out of your vehicle. You don't want to get soaked to the bone trying to do a recovery, or even just appreciating a view. The last really big thing to think about is to make sure you carry some kind of toolkit with you. Even if you just have a little basic kit, that's better than having nothing. My advice is to get yourself a nice tool bag, and every time you work on your truck, take the tools you use and put them in that bag and keep them with you all the time. Anyways, that's how we here at Wander Off-Road pack for all the different trips we go on. The list varies a little bit depending on the trip, and it'll vary depending a little bit on what you need personally. But this video is a great place to start if you have some questions. Hey, Binder.
Yeah?
Thanks for watching this video.
You're welcome.
Taylor, I really appreciate you liking and subscribing.
Of course.
We'll see you next time here at Wander Off-Road.